Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So yesterday I played a game because Kev left me by myself and I got in trouble. But yesterday I played a game called the AFC North Quarterback Shuffle. So if you are a fan of either the Bengals, the Browns, Steelers, or Ravens, this becomes a little interesting exercise. You have to trade your quarterback within the division. You have to pick which quarterback in the division that is not your own that you think will help your team more than anyone else in the division. Again, you cannot keep your own quarterback. So which AFC North quarterback other than your own gives your team the best chance to win in 2021? So it's not a long-term deal. It's for 1 year only. So age isn't really a part of it or anything like that. You're not building a roster. It's simply you cannot keep your current quarterback, but you have to trade your current quarterback for another QB in the division that you think gives your team the best chance to win in 2021. So, Kev, I'll tell you who I picked yesterday. So for the Cleveland Browns, for this reason here, I picked Ben Roethlisberger. I would trade Baker Mayfield for Ben Roethlisberger for this reason, because it's for 1 season and 1 season only. Last year, we were convinced that Ben Roethlisberger was washed up. And when you are treating Ben Roethlisberger at his age as if he has to be the main guy to win you football games, that's a problem. When your offensive line is shot, when you have the worst run game in football, when your defense is decimated by injuries, I don't even care if it's Ben Roethlisberger from his prime. Ben Roethlisberger was not going to look very good last year, and I actually thought he looked pretty good considering. He completed about 66% of his passes. He threw for over 30 touchdowns. He threw for close to 4,000 yards. It was just under 4,000 yards he threw for. Ben Roethlisberger, all things considered, Kev, and he didn't turn the ball over a lot until the playoffs. But the point is Big Ben still had a pretty good statistical year with all the noise and mess going on around him. It reminds me of 2 years ago. Everything that everyone is saying about Ben Roethlisberger right now, we said about Tom Brady that last year he was with the Patriots. He's washed up. He's old. He looked old. Well, his offensive line also wasn't very good. They also didn't have a good run game. The defense was shot by the end of the year, which is why they lost to the Titans in the playoffs. And everyone said, man, he shouldn't go to the Bucs. He should just retire. And then what happens, Kev? You gave Tom Brady an offensive line. You gave him a run game. You gave him some receivers. You gave him a top 5, arguably the best defense in football. And then Tom Brady looked like his old youthful, jovial self. So to me, the reason I picked Big Ben is because I know what he's capable of doing. You know exactly. He's been there before. He has the experience that I think you put him behind that Browns offensive line. You give him that Browns run game. You give him those receivers in that Browns defense. I think Big Ben is a for sure home run piece to add to this Browns roster. If I had to trade Baker Mayfield for any quarterback in the division, I'm trading him for obviously Ben Roethlisberger, and that's not a shot at Lamar, but the Browns have a run game already. Their run game is the best in football, so I don't need a quarterback that is going to come in and that his strength is his ability to run. I wouldn't need him to run. So at that point, you're relying on his arm that we're not sure, is that the problem in Baltimore? Is his arm the problem, or was it the lack of weapons? So I don't want to gamble there. And then Joe Burrow, he's played 10 games. He has some pretty good stats. You want to talk about the yards, all the yards he threw for. You got to understand, the Bengals were trailing in pretty much every game last year. So you had a lot of defenses that went into a prevent. So when teams drop into a prevent because they're ahead of you late in the game, of course, Joe Burrow is going to get a lot of those padded stats. So I'm not convinced that Joe Burrow is this amazing quarterback that everyone's convinced of yet. I need to see what he's able to do, because even the games they had leads in, Joe Burrow let the Bengals lose leads to the Colts and some others. They had that 21-0 lead or whatever it was. So Joe Burrow, there's still some concerns I have about him. So to me, Ben Roethlisberger is the easy choice. I think Ben Roethlisberger would give the Browns the best chance to win if I had to trade Baker for a quarterback in the AFC North.
No doubt about it.
You're a Steelers fan, so
yeah. That would be awesome. That would be awesome to see my quarterback play for your team. I'm slitting my wrist even thinking about it.
He technically did that in the playoffs. He threw a lot. He completed just as many passes to the Browns as Baker did last year. It was a tag team effort.
Don't act like you ain't getting nervous when we were only down 7 points. Don't act like that you didn't get nervous. Don't you think
nervous? I predicted it.
To answer your question, for me, it is very easy. It is Lamar Jackson. It is Lamar Jackson for multiple reasons. One, you talk about the run game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not even thinking about Lamar as the runner. I'm thinking about Lamar in the zone read game. Anybody that watches football knows when you zone read, you leave a guy unblocked. And that's one less guy worried about the running back. So that takes one guy out the box. Then you take another guy out the box because it is Lamar Jackson and you're scared he's going to go up around the back end. So not only you take a defensive end out of the play, you take a linebacker out of the play. So you're blocking 5 on 3 guys. So that fixes the running game right there. That is why the Ravens have a dominant running game, because not only obviously Lamar's ability to run the ball, but his ability to give it to the running backs, because he can be a decoy. So him being a great decoy allows them to run the ball better, and that would only help a new young offensive line that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. So you talk about fixing the run game. That's one reason I would pick Lamar Jackson. 2, the Pittsburgh Steelers have more weapons than the Baltimore Ravens. They have Chase Claypool, obviously Juju underneath routes, and then you have Deontay Johnson. The best pass that Lamar has is the deep ball. You got 2 guys that can go deep. And last year, Big Ben started to weigh on his arm with the surgery that he had to his elbow. The deep ball was not there like that. That's why they started running a ton of RPOs and bubble screens and things of that nature. So those deep shots weren't there. So you're going to get a ton of deep shots with Lamar and those 2 receivers, like I said, with Claypool and Deontay Johnson. And then you still have Juju running the underneath drag routes and everything like that. And another thing about Lamar, he's already played with a team with a dominant defense, with the Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers also have a dominant defense. I think if you plug in Lamar Jackson for Ben Roethlisberger, I think they go to the Super Bowl. That's how elite that I think that he would make that offense with him added to it. It's a pipe dream, but it would be cool.
Well, and again, this is just a little exercise. This will never happen.
Hey, Lamar, what are you doing tonight?
So, and by the way, every reason you just listed, so I gave my ideal landing spots for all the quarterbacks in the division if they had to swap teams within the division. Lamar to Pittsburgh made the most sense. They complement each other better than any other quarterback team combo in the division, because Lamar's strength happens to be the Steelers' weakness, and the Steelers' strengths in that offense match Lamar's strength with his arm. You can question his arm, but you're right. So he has the weapons downfield to complement the plays he can make with his legs. And then, he has Najee Harris now, which I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Maybe that works. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong. I like that draft pick. It's supposed to work, but you don't know till you see it.
It better.
But the bottom line is that I think that makes the most sense as far as that goes. For Baltimore, I picked Joe Burrow to Baltimore. I just thought that they don't have receivers that are threats down the field, but that's not Joe Burrow's strength anyways. That's why all this talk about the Bengals need to get that deep threat weapon. Why? One of the weaknesses of Joe Burrow is his inability to throw the deep ball. So why are you going to get a deep threat that you're not going to be able to capitalize on, because your quarterback can't throw the ball deep down the field anyways? So I think that I think the balance of J.K. Dobbins with a better offensive line, with Sammy Watkins and some of the key guys they got in the draft, I thought that complemented Joe Burrow better in Baltimore. And then Baker Mayfield in Cincinnati, just because he's the one that's left. And I don't think Baker helps Cincinnati, because that offensive line I don't trust. The run game, Joe Mixon's bipolar. I don't really know what you're going to get out of him on a game-by-game, week-by-week basis. And I didn't really have a good reason for why Baker would make sense in Cincinnati, other than that's the last team standing. But I do believe that the Steelers and Lamar Jackson make a ton of sense. But I also think
that is the supreme reason why I wanted the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft Jalen Hurts last year.
Mm-hmm. And I like Big Ben in Cleveland, because Cleveland's a win now roster, and Big Ben has a win now, basically body of work. I think he would make the most sense. So, I just think that it is what it is. Dave.